Verbal or life.
Here's my question. Why is the media working so working so hard to protect illegal migrants? Like heading down to El Salvador to try to bring that guy back? Are you serious? Like, we got so many other problems you guys got to take care of. These politicians got to take care of those problems first, and then worry about illegal migrants. Not only illegal migrants, but illegal criminals, violent migrants. That's crazy. Let's check out this clip that talks a little bit more about it. And by the way, welcome to Verbal Online. My name is Noel. Hopefully you enjoyed this clip. Now let me know what you think. Before going anywhere, make sure to hit the like button. All right.
For unopened emails, I've got it so high that the phone broke. New legal setbacks undercutting President Trump's deportation crackdown as Democrats dig in on defending a deported Maryland man with alleged ties to MS-13. Our very own Laura Ingraham pressing one Democratic congresswoman on her decision to go to El Salvador. Listen to this.
This individual in particular, I'm not here to really advocate for one person. That needs to happen in court. No evidence has actually ever been presented. Laura, it is about the rule of law. This is a bipartisan issue. It transcends partisan politics.
Rule of law. So that means taking in court all illegal migrants, spending millions of dollars to just make sure that they get their due process. When they walk in here with no due process, they just came in the country and that's it. They have rights automatically. Insane. How about you go to your country and wait for the matter to be resolved? How about that?
Politics. That's why a conservative-leaning Supreme Court has said that Donald Trump must facilitate the return of this individual.
And so begins a busy Wednesday afternoon. I'm John Roberts in Washington. Good to see you today, Sandra.
I can vouch for the fact that you're a great texter. We text all through the show, don't we?
We do, but I've got so many unopened emails, my phone won't even count that high. It's crazy.
That's an issue. Get to work on that. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith in New York, and this is America Report. So all of this comes as another illegal migrant in Maryland now is charged with murder. The victim this time was a mother of two who was found dead in a forest just outside our nation's capital.
That's insane. And now, what are we talking about here? Let's see. Are they going to talk about his legal rights?
Fox team coverage starts now. Katie Pavlich will join us in just a moment to break this all down.
But first, let's get to Jackie Heinrich. She's reporting live from the White House for us. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Sandra. That's right. Even though a federal judge is accusing the Justice Department of being pretty vague and giving evasive answers on how it has handled the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the White House really believes it is on strong political footing with this story.
I find it incredible that there's all this push for more due process, more process for these designated terrorists, when in fact no one asked for due process when they crossed the border. Where were a lot of you all folks when 10.5 million people came to the border? And
you know what? I wonder who's funding all of this. Who's paying for all of this? Where's the money coming from? We should do some research on that, and maybe that'll help.
You're silent. Where were a lot of these folks when they had 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children? Where was everybody when we had 250,000 Americans dying from fentanyl?
The White House says Abrego Garcia is not coming back. Judge Zinese giving the DOJ until 6 p.m. tonight to provide answers about what's going on behind the scenes and who is involved as the court pushes for the administration to facilitate his return. Writing for weeks, defendants have sought refuge behind vague and unsubstantiated assertions, of privilege, using them as a shield to obstruct discovery and evade compliance with this court's orders. In the meantime, two federal courts have ordered rulings blocking the White House from using the Alien Enemies Act within their jurisdiction, at least until May 6th. President Trump, once again, sounding off about the courts usurping his executive authority.
We're getting them out, and a judge can't say, no, you have to have a trial. The trial's going to take 2 years, and no, we're going to have a very dangerous country if we're not allowed to do what we're entitled to do. Yeah. And I won an election based on the fact that we get them out, and we've done an amazing job.
And despite a lot of Republican criticism over what they've called activist judges and efforts to issue these nationwide injunctions and block the president's authority.
Yeah, like, who is paying these judges? Like, where's the money coming from? Because how can a judge out of nowhere fight so hard to keep illegal migrants here in the country? That doesn't make no sense.
You did not see the Senate take any action on that House-passed legislation that would have reined in nationwide injunctions. Instead, the Senate went to recess. So expect more to come on that point, Sandra.
We'll be watching for that. Jackie Heinrich live from the White House for us. Thank you, John.
All right, let's break it all down with Katie Pavlich, townhall.com editor and Fox News contributor. Let's start with Chris Van Hollen.
Yes.
Because the senator came in for some criticism this morning when he seemed to champion the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but said nothing about this other woman who was killed by an illegal alien in Maryland. He subsequently gave a statement to Fox.com in which he said, Ms. Guerra's family and friends in our community will see her suspected killer, and anyone involved in this crime face justice in a court of law. Courts of law are where we punish the guilty and provide for the due process rights of all. That is why it's important to respect the rule of law and the decisions of our courts. But he and many Democrats are being seen as caring more about these suspected gang members than they are their own constituents who are being murdered at the hands of people who are in this country illegally.
Yeah, Chris Van Hollen is trying to argue that the courts are the place to discuss these things. It doesn't prevent him from issuing a full-throated statement against this kind of illegal behavior happening in his state where his constituents have been killed multiple times by.
Again, you can only wonder how much money he's making. That's what they need to research. Find out who's paying this guy off. Because how can you go so hard battling or fighting to keep illegals here? Who's benefiting out of this, right? Because at the end of the day, the elite, they don't get to see the violence. They don't get to see the criminals. The people at the bottom, the day-to-day people are the ones heading face-to-face looking at this illegal migrant situation and having to fight for their lives. It's a really crazy situation.
Illegal immigrants led into the country, many of them who already had deportation orders, some of them who had come into the country and been involved in illegal activity that is documented by local police, and yet they still were able to then continue on and commit other crimes. Now there's this additional woman who is a mother of two who is no longer there for her children. And you have Chris Van Hollen taking the time to fly all the way to El Salvador on taxpayer dollars to advocate for people who have come into the country who have.
And how do these politicians keep winning elections? Like, just for doing that, nobody should vote for that guy. It's obvious who he really likes or who he wants around. The illegal criminals are the ones he's fighting for, not the regular citizens.
Ties to these gangs that are taking the lives of Americans. Politically, it's not playing well for Democrats at all. And when it comes to this delegation now of House members that have gone down to El Salvador, this woman from Arizona, for example, this man, Garcia, is not even in her state. So I would argue he's not even a constituent of Van Hollen because he's not in the country legally. But you have all these Democrats now deciding this is what they're going to do.
So Rachel Morin is another woman who was killed in the state of Maryland by an illegal alien. Her mother, Patty Morin, told Fox Digital that she's very upset about the way that lawmakers on the Democratic side seem to be championing the assailants as opposed to the victims. Listen here.
Their silence and their actions or lack of actions speak volumes to their character, the values that they hold. They would rather champion his cause, a criminal, than the victim. I think it is utterly despicable.
Yeah, even some Democratic operatives are questioning the wisdom of what Van Hollen and others are doing.
Well, because it brings up the basic question of whose side are they on? They are elected officials who come to Washington, D.C. to represent their American constituents, the voters in their states, in their districts.
Again, they got to be getting paid millions out of this because it just makes sense to kick out illegal criminals and defend citizens here that are voting for you.
And yet that's not what they're doing. They're spending all this time advocating not for illegal immigrants who come here for a better life maybe, or people who've been here for years or who were brought here by their parents, but but very dangerous illegal immigrants who have ties to these gangs, who are actually part of these gangs, which have been on the books with the FBI and the State Department for decades as a result of their now deemed terrorist activity. And the Department of Homeland Security has described this as playing Russian roulette with American lives, because they've let in all of these people who have no vetting whatsoever. Now the courts are saying you can't deport them. You have Democrats saying that they need to be brought back into the country after they've been deported. And you have real victims of these crimes, including Rachel Morin, who was a mother of 5. Who is now the list goes on and on and on. And you don't have the same defense of their rights to be safe in their communities and represented by those people. Instead, they're focused on people who came into the country admittedly illegally.
And there's this case in California now where this twice deported illegal alien is being released after spending 3.5 years in jail and a 10-year sentence after he killed 2 young people in a DUI crash. Bill Melugin spoke to the father of one of the victims. Anya was her name. I mean, he's just torn about this. Listen here.
The moment that it was confirmed that he is going to be released, I can't describe it. It's outrage. It's not frustration. It's anger. It's disgusting. All those dreams were cut short just by one person who was not even supposed to be on that freeway.
And now we hear that the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of California, Bilal Asaili, is going to, as soon as this person's released from jail, slap the cuffs on him and charge him with federal crimes.
Well,
and plus deporting him after he served his time. My voice is going away. I got to fix it. Definitely serve some time and deport the guy, man. You kill somebody.
Why is it that we have to wait until these situations happen, until young people are killed, until mothers are killed, for these people to be deported? It's almost like they're given a free pass in these American communities until something horrific happens. And now you have an actual presidential administration that wants to get these people out of the community. But lots of times they've been arrested, rearrested, let out onto the streets. And the bottom line is what that father just said is that man should have never been on the freeway. These are preventable crimes. And yet Democrats, for some reason, are deciding that they want these kinds of things to continue inside the country.
It almost feels like the Democrats want this to happen. So then when they run to be elected, they could say, I'm going to fix this problem. Elect me so I can fix this problem for you. So it's like inviting the problem first and then talking about fixing it. Maybe that's it.
Because they're not willing to prevent them from happening.
Right. Katie, it's always great to spend time with you.
You too. Good to see you.
Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. All right. So we've got Caroline Levitt coming up top of the next hour. We'll get a chance to put these questions.
It almost feels like these politicians got nothing better to do. They get into office and they do nothing. So the guy says, you know what? I'm not doing anything. So I'm going to El Salvador to try to get this guy in. Could that be it? I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know what you think and give this video a thumbs up. All right, let's watch this last minute.
Questions to her, as well as how the courts are intervening. Many people, including the president, would say interfering with what the White House is trying to do here.
Yeah, we'll get fresh reaction from the White House when Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, joins us top of the hour. We'll get her to react to the efforts to block these deportation efforts. This is a big interest for the American people, John.
It sure is. There's no question about that. And particularly when you see what's happening in places like California, as we were just talking about, it's 2 deaths in Maryland, Lake and Riley. It just goes on and on and on from here.
All right. So we look forward to that. Meanwhile, a Minnesota state employee arrested for allegedly vandalizing Teslas in Minneapolis, causing more than $20,000 in damages. But critics say prosecutors are letting him off with a slap on the wrist. Senior correspondent.
All right. I'm going to leave it there. So it could be money. And it could also be a reason to get elected, like letting all the problems happen, all the big problems on the news, because somebody said that elected officials are like actors who didn't make it and then went into politics. And so one of their big argument is, we got so many problems, vote me in and I will fix the problems, which is kind of crazy because we end up suffering, or the people at the bottom end up suffering, because the elite, they don't see none of this. They don't even come around the illegal migrants. They ship all the illegal migrants to the lower community and let them deal with it, which is unfair, but that's my thought. Let me know what you think. Give this video a thumbs up. And my name is Noel, better than MS, and I'll be back later. Let me take a look at my backyard, see what's going on over there. With that said, see you guys later in the afternoon. Peace.